Yeah, I
All
put it in
right.
the book, guys.
So let's all, hello everybody. I think we are on. I apologize. We're trying a few new things here. So just bear with us. We are going to become way more self-reliant when it comes to Zoom meetings in this new normal and world that we are in today. So I want to welcome all of you to the Self-Reliance, National Self-Reliance Project. And this is the platform that we are the producers of the Self-Reliance and Simple Life Experience, and also the newly formed Self-Reliance University, which we are all a part of this evening. So the Self-Reliance and Simple Life Experience, the next one is scheduled for the Arapahoe at the Arapahoe County Fairgrounds in Aurora, Colorado, October 24th and 25th. But with everything going on, we just couldn't wait, and we pulled the Self-Reliance University off the shelf and decided we needed to start getting out the information and skills and resources now and not have to wait until October. So all of these folks that you are going to see in our webinar series called the Fireside Chats, the Self-Reliance University Fireside Chats, are hopefully folks that you're going to get to meet at the Self-Reliance and Simple Life Experience. So go to selfrelianceexpo.com and definitely keep, we'll keep you up to date with who our new speakers are going to be, what the schedule is, when the tickets are going to go on sale. But in the meantime, I am super, super excited to be hosting this Self-Reliance University and these amazing authors that we have this evening. Sara Hathaway is going to be joining us in about 10 or 15 minutes. And so she'll be coming on here shortly. In the meantime, I wanted to thank our sponsors, Kurt Rankin with Garden for Life, Country Financial, also US Health Group, and then our media sponsor, which is Paratus Business News. Kurt is with us this evening, and he's going to tell you a little bit about Garden for Life at the short intermission that we're going to have. But with that, I want to go ahead and move on, and I want to introduce our speakers. But I think actually I'm going to have DJ Cooper, who is our moderator, introduce our speakers. So I'm just going to introduce DJ. So most of you probably saw this in the e-blast that we sent out. She is the owner of POSH, the Prepper Podcast Radio Network. She's been broadcasting preparedness topics for years, and her often spoken of Prepper Overload seminar offers insights into the psychological implications for disaster and prepping. She can't wait to attend the Self-Reliance Expo again. We're really excited to have that. We're going to have a Authors of the Apocalypse corner and have many of these authors with us, so that will be awesome. She's an author to a number of post-apocalyptic books. The last one is Sun's Fury, a 9 Meals from Anarchy tale that gives insights in these precarious days into the amount of time it would take for mankind to slip. The quote, "Mankind is only 9 meals from anarchy" by Alfred Henry Lewis was the inspiration for her series of standalone novels. And we will be providing the Amazon book link. So with that, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to hand it over to DJ, and so you can introduce the rest of our speakers. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you in just a bit.
No, I'm just kidding. Welcome to the webinar. This is, yeah, you'd think I could talk. I do the podcast all the time, but you put a camera on me and suddenly, my brain just goes, poof, it's gone. Anyway, we have 3 of the authors that many of you already know. We have N.A. Nancy Broadley, She lives up here in New Hampshire, and she has got a little farm going on that you can often hear about in her amazing book, Damn It, Peckerhead. And this is a hilarious book that is absolutely wonderful from the perspective of learning how to do life on the farm. Additionally, in the email blast that was put out there and stuff, all the book links are in there, so you'll be able to catch that as well. We also have with us already Theresa Shaver. Theresa is, she lives up in Canada, so, you know, while we're all getting springtime down here, I'm pretty sure she's still freezing to death up there. She is the author of the Glare series and Flare. Are we talking about the other one? Sorry, I don't have it in front of me because I had to use my phone, and so I can't see anything except myself, which is a little unsettling. But Theresa will tell you all about it. And we also have Sara Hathaway that's going to be joining us here very shortly. And she has a great series going on, but Sara is also a podcaster. Sara has a podcast out there that she does, and she has been reading bits and pieces from her books all the way along. So you're going to have to check that out. It's a Changing Earth podcast. So yay, hi.
Hello.
So we're all here, and great, that's awesome. We weren't sure how it was going to work with that. So what's going to happen is I'm going to probably just kind of do the whole round table thing and ask each of you to tell us just a little bit about yourself and how you can relate your works, how your works will help. You know, one thing that I like to say is that post-apocalyptic fiction in particular has a specific way that it is able to relate to readers, preparedness people. As a matter of fact, you know, the one thing that I always liked was that it can show you things that maybe you hadn't thought of, because now you're getting the perspective from somebody else's view. So I'm going to just do this whole round table, and since I can see Sara, we're going to put her on the hot seat first. And she's a podcaster. She's old hat at this, so she'll get it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Sara, and talk about what you write and how you feel like it relates to preparedness.
Yeah, so I started writing just for fun, just having fun. It was kind of just a thought experiment. The Changing Earth series is the name of my series that's ongoing. I'm on writing book 8 right now. And what I found very, very inspirational was that I could teach through the literature. Everybody tends to learn a lot better if they can connect a lesson with an emotion. So that's really what I was going for. I love Jean M. Auel. She does the Children of the Earth series, Clan of the Cave Bear, and that, and she's just a phenomenal author. And she teaches so much through her fictional work that I was like, I could do that with survival material, and just kind of be able to open people's brains as I went along. So that's really what I loved. And then the story just kind of snowballed from there. And now it's just been a blast. And doing the podcast, we got to meet so many wonderful people and learn so much that it's really been a lot of fun.
That sounds awesome. Theresa, would you like to chime in?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I live up just north of Calgary in Alberta, which is about a 3-hour drive from the Montana border for geography purposes. I started writing, I guess, prepper fiction, post-apocalyptic, back in 2011, and my first series that came out then is a 6-book series called Stranded, Land, Sea, Home, and on and on. Since then, and that one was based off of an EMP strike in North America. My next series was Endless Winter, 4-book completed, and that one was the after effects of nuclear war. And my latest series is the Flare series, about CME.
See?
Yeah, yeah. And it's a great mix of, from a mom's perspective, having to make a journey home over the Rocky Mountains to get back to her kids, and then from the kids' perspective and what they had to go through. And then the last book is going to drop towards the end of next week, which is a month and a half early. Thank you very much, quarantine. And that one will have a good mix of the mom, the kids, the grandparents, aunts and uncles, so real community-wise. And I think community is the big thing for me with prepper fiction. You know, you can have as many bullets and beans and band-aids as you want, but there's just no way we can do it alone. And it really spoke to me, especially in the world we live in now, where we're also separated, and, you know, other than the occasional Facebook greeting, we don't get together the way we used to, and come together as a community to really build, you know, build groups and build things together. So in all of my books, I've always put that as one of the main threads, that you need a tribe to survive, and we can't do it alone. So that's one of the things that really, really appeals to me.
Good point. Nancy, would you like to unmute yourself and join us?
I'm trying. I had to find the buttons first. So, yeah, I don't know. My books, the one that I think that pertains most to the prepping world right now would be my homestead stories. Because for me, homesteading is the basis of all prepping. Learning to grow your own food, learning to raise your own animals, harvest your own animals, so on and so forth. And today with this COVID-19, I just, you know, I feel so much more appreciative of my homestead, because it's going to provide me with what, you know, with a lot of the things I need. I don't feel like I need to run out to the store and, you know, go to get things as much as maybe somebody else does, because I grow it or harvest it right here on the farm. For my post-apocalyptic books, I think I speak more to the, you know, to the unprepared person, the person who has to find their way in a world where it's just, you know, things have just, the rug has just been pulled out from under them. So they're making a lot of mistakes and they're learning a lot on the way. Do you have a train?
I do have a train.
The station.
I was like, what is that? It's these trains. Okay. So my post-apocalyptic books, I feel like they're more, like I said, for the unprepared person, the person who doesn't know beans, bullets, and you know, my lady carries a turkey carving knife as her self-defense, but it works. So yeah, it's been quite the journey for me, and quite the, you know, quite the learning experience myself.
That's really great. If anybody wants to look at her Damn It Peckerhead book, I just can't get over this book enough. It's absolutely hilarious. And you know, if you do anything that involves homesteading, you're going to be able to totally relate with it. We did have a question, guys, that came from a listener. This one came in early, and she asks, if you are mostly vegan, what kinds of food can you prepare ahead of time once fresh veggies run out? Theresa, would you like to chime in on this?
Sure. Yeah. Vegan's a tough one, especially if you're looking at purchasing already created long life food. You know, if you're really, really dedicated and committed to it, then my suggestion would be to get yourself a freeze dryer. Those things are incredible for taking your everyday meals and turning them into long life food. it's tough being a vegan when it comes to being able to buy this stuff ready-made. So you're going to have to look at maybe investing in it to a higher level with that freeze dryer. And that's honestly, I think that's your best bet, or you're going to have a little bit of a bland diet once things kick off, if things kick off.
How about you, Nancy? Do you have a comment towards that?
Well, as I'm not vegan, so it would be hard to recommend. But I know, you know, for their protein sources, they've got beans, they've got a variety of peanut butters, a variety of nut butters. Those can store long term. The butters, not as much as like the dried beans and the rice. And I would add, you know, personally, if I was vegan, I would add a lot of herbs to my cooking to get those extra vitamins and extra minerals that they might need. For long-term storage, though, they're going to be looking at their oatmeals, their grains, their beans, their rice. Those are going to be the bulk of what they can store long-term.
That makes a lot of sense. How about you, Sarah? Do you have any comments on that?
I would say learn to can, because you're going to need to just can. And the beans, the rice exactly is right on. Also, wild foraging options. There's lots of plants that you can find in nature that have a protein profile. So it's going to be absolutely vital to figure out what those plants are in your area and know how to find them and harvest them.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward, because an hour goes so fast. Something I was wondering myself, actually, and I think we discussed this a little bit. We are looking at right now a pandemic where, you know, we're all sitting. This is the closest I've come to anybody in like a week. This is awesome. And from your character's perspective, I want you to think about your books, because what I really want to relate to people in this is how they too can use fiction to help them think things through. So how would your characters in your books react to the current affairs of today? Nancy?
Well, in my books, it's funny because the book is actually about a virus that has wiped out a big percentage of the population. And my main character is an EMT. So she was in the right down in the dirt of it when it was all going down. And we do the book speaks about, you know, the quarantines at the hospital, so on and so forth. But I mean, it is just common sense. You've got to stay away from people. You got to wear a mask. You've got to wear gloves. You've got to just be, you know, very, very careful with your social distancing. And, you know, yeah, we all want to get out there and we all want to, you know, see our friends and so on and so forth. But I think I've been tracking this since December, since we first heard about it. And I have been online talking to all of my friends, start putting things away, start prepping for it, because I believe it's going to go on a lot longer than most people think. And as the illnesses or the pandemic spreads worse here in the US and more people start getting sick, you're going to see supply chains being slowed down. You're going to see grocery stores being less and less and less on the shelves. So, you know, my character would tell you right now, no matter what you're doing, stockpile as much as you can, put it back, start canning. Like Sara said, learn how to can, learn how to get out there and grow your gardens, learn how to, you know, put your food away. And don't forget your medicine supplies either, because those are definitely going to be, you know, needed, if not now, in the future for you.
How about you, Sarah?
Well, my character would be particularly concerned about the amount of constitutional freedoms that we have just forfeited without even batting an eye. And so that's, you know, if you're going to look from Erica's point of view, she is a freedom fighter, and she would definitely be concerned with the amount of, you know, I understand that we have to stay, you know, away from each other and stuff like that. And I still have faith in people to make the right decision on their own without having to force them and arrest them and charge them. And, you know, so maybe that's my fault for having a little bit too much faith in humanity. But I would like to believe that, you know, most Americans have a head on their shoulders, and we can do that without the government forcing us into these decisions, taking away the right to assemble, the right to religion, the, you know, our right to buy firearms in some states. It's absolutely, in my book, ridiculous that the steps that they're taking against our constitutional freedoms without even, and people are like, sure, yep, pandemic, yep, let's do it. So that to me is a little bit spooky.
How about you, Theresa? You have a different perspective, don't you?
A little bit. I don't think this is going to be the big one. I think a lot of people are going to, you know, lose their lives, and it's going to really impact many, many millions. But I think what we should be doing is using this as a blueprint for something possibly worse down the road. This is a great time to assess what you've done so far for preparedness and see where your gaps are. Something to look at would be being self-isolated, being stuck at home. A lot of people have little kids or teenagers, which I do. Look what's going on now with how they're spending their days with the internet, and think about now, do this exact same thing with no internet, without Netflix, without, so, you know, consider those things and what you can do to mitigate that by preparing for it. I really think we're going to get through this. I think this one is definitely going to impact the way we do things in the future, the way people think. But I believe we will get through this one, and I think that this is a warning sign to all of us that we need to start taking certain things more seriously and prepare.
Very good answer. I found that actually all three of you guys had a different type of a view, but everyone came back with basically the same thing. It's just do what you can do now, for as much as you can do, but also take into account that in the future something could go even worse, and this should be a wake-up call. I think that that's the one thing that I take away from it, is that it should be a wake-up call. I wanted to throw something out there now. We know that Nancy has a homestead, a little farm and stuff. And Sarah, I'm not sure where you're at on that. And Theresa has you know, talked a little bit about this in the past, but more so Nancy, who's running her homestead there. Do you want to talk a little bit about it? Like, it's springtime now, and would you like to tell us a little bit about what might be going on the homestead?
Oh boy, springtime is just the start of my busy life here on the homestead. We have babies being born. We just had six goat babies born, so we've had our hands full with that. I'm also preparing my garden beds because I do trash gardening versus the standard gardening. So everything I use in my garden comes from the land around me, the rotted trees, the sticks, the leaves, the hay, so on and so forth. I'm also going to be starting to build, more additions and more stalls in my sheds and in my barn. I also just got 2 rabbits that I'll be breeding for meat rabbits, so that I can start harvesting rabbits. I always harvest my chickens and my rabbits in the fall, so those will be to fill my freezer. So yeah, it is just super busy, plus all the repairs that I have to do from the winter, the fences that, you know, got trashed by my horny buck, and trying to get over to my does. It's just it's just a zoo here at the homestead in the spring.
With it, you said you were starting planting and stuff like that. Are you starting things now, or
No, up here in where I live, we're in a higher elevation, so I can't plant yet. I don't plant until probably June 1st, but to get the garden beds ready, I have to add more material to them. And I'll do my starter plants up in one of my lofts, so that by the time I do get around to planting, I'll have some good starter plants going. We have a very short season up here. My season starts in June, and it will end right around September 15th before we get our first real heavy frost that will kill it back. So I have a very short season up here. At some point, I plan to do homemade little greenhouses out of old windows that I can get scavenged from the dump. So I'll use window panes to build up some homemade greenhouses with those.
Wow, that sounds really great. You know, one of the sponsors for the Self-Reliance Expo and the Self-Reliance Simple Life experience is actually kind of an expert on this whole thing. And I was just eyeballing the website over there, and we do have him here to talk with us today. And it is garden with the number 4 life.us. Kurt is here with us, and I'm hoping he's hearing me and he's going to chime in here and let us know a little bit about this topic.
Yeah, I hear you.
There you are.
Where would you like me to start?
Just tell us about what you got going on there.
Well, Garden for Life, and Nancy talked a little bit about raised beds. We focus on a raised bed garden system, really with the attention of helping people who may be gardening or may not have ever gardened, but creating a system for them that they can kind of plug and play and have great success. You know, a lot of times the problems with our gardening systems or gardening in general is I don't have the time, which that's not a problem now. We got lots of time, but I physically can't garden anymore. It hurts to bend over. It hurts to kneel down, those types of things. Raised beds can help with that. You know, my soil is terrible. You know, it's too dry here. It's too wet here. All those are typical gardening problems. And with a raised bed system, you can alleviate a lot of those problems. So we help educate and promote raised beds. We have a system. We offer the growing medium, the natural fertilizer to put on it, and then the techniques that we built over the years to develop an easier garden that doesn't take a lot of time, a lot of maintenance, yet get a lot of production out of a small area.
Well, that is just something that I have little seeds growing already. I personally am fascinated with the whole thing because I don't necessarily have a great big garden area. Can you tell people, really in all honesty, a little bit about what you have going on there on the website, and where, if they need any more information, where they can get a hold of you?
Sure. Yeah, our website is Garden for Life. That's the garden with the number 4, the word life.us. And we're on Facebook, so you can find our page on Facebook also. Our phone number is 417-736-3251. And yeah, we just love talking with people. We promote the growing medium and the natural fertilizer. We ship it around the country, so it's readily available. And then, you know, just really trying to get people to focus on self-reliance, and learning how to grow a portion of what they eat. Most people will never grow the majority, but if they can offset 25–30% of their vegetable bills during the year, I mean, that's a great place to start.
Wow, that sounds just wonderful. So everybody should really take a look. I've been perusing this site now for, about half the afternoon because I totally got sucked into it. It's not as bad as Pinterest, of course, but you won't get lost. It's not a black hole. But it had so much really great stuff in there. So I highly recommend that that y'all give it a look and check it out. I will post a link in all of the groups, in the POSH group and the Written Apocalypse group, and I'll get it out there for you so that you can check it out, because this really had some great information. Back to our guests and our panelists here. We did have some questions. Sandy asks, what about people with diabetes? Theresa, would you like to chime in on that?
That's a hard one for me. My dad is diabetic, and other than trying to manage his diet, there isn't a real solution that I have found as of yet. So just gonna have to hope for the best at this point. But if anyone has any idea about long-term shelf-stable ways to help with that, please chime in, because I would desperately want to know that.
Sara, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so if you study some of the herbal remedies, Kat Ellis and Nicole Appelian are fabulous herbologists, and they both have solutions for diabetes, that ways that you can manage it, from plants that you would receive from overseas right now, but you can begin growing them in your gardens and whatnot, and that way you have the solution, you have an alternative that can at least help with a little bit of control. I'm not sure the level of diabetes, but Nicole Appelian, she has MS, and she has control over her MS all through her diet and just herbal remedies. She goes to Africa each year and spends the time with the Bushmen and everything. She is smart and knows how to forage out of a forest and how to heal the body through diet. And I would definitely start looking into both of those individuals. Kat Ellis, she has a great book. I know that she has diabetes remedies, and maybe not remedies, but maintenance methods in that book. And Nicole as well. Just both fabulous individuals. And Nicole is always willing to help people out. She's a spectacular person. So I would, if I had a situation like that, I would definitely be talking to one of those two people.
Thank you, Sara.
Yep.
How about you, Nancy? I know that you have been doing a lot. She gives me all my best teas because she studies the herbal, different things with the herbs and stuff like that, the herbology. Do you have any thoughts on the diabetes?
Yeah. There are a lot of herbs to help maintain good health and to help maintain blood sugar. You just have to, I just have to urge caution here. There is, as far as I know, there is not any one herb that is going to replace the insulin. Okay, so if you are a diabetic and you take insulin on a daily basis, you're going to have to use some very good judgment about using herbs for your diabetes. You can assist the diabetes through keeping the blood sugars at a level that is healthy and beneficial through strict diet. And the use of herbs will help, but they are not a cure-all that I know of, unless something new has come on the you know, has come into the herbology world in the past 6 months that I don't know about. So I would just really pay attention to, you know, basically learning as much as you can. Exercise is always going to help you. Watching your diet is always going to help you. But if you are insulin dependent, then you really need to talk to either an herbal doctor or a homeopathic doctor. I just can't give any good advice on that right now.
Well, I think it's pretty, the consensus really is, has a great deal to do with diet, because ultimately it is a sugar issue with your diet. And I know that with type 1 diabetes, you are probably looking at really struggling and having a difficult time. But I do know also that they now have insulin that is not refrigerated. I do not know how long that insulin lasts for. So if you could stockpile it or not, that would definitely be, I think, something to look into. On the same track of all the preparedness and stuff, we want to talk about your books. And there was a question that asked if anybody had tips or anything in their books that, you know, might mimic like Glenn Tate's books or something, for example. I mean, I know my books personally, I have a resource section in the back of the books that goes over all the tips that I offer out there. It tells you how to make a solar oven and things like this. Do any of y'all offer these types of tips in your books? Sara, how about you start us off with that?
So I don't have them in my books, but because I do my podcast, I do a chapter of my book. I actually read all of my books on the air. So you could, if you follow the podcast, you could get the whole series for free, basically. But I'm just trying to get information out there to people. So we do a chapter of the book, and then I have a interview, or now I've taken on a co-host, and we present one of the survival lessons from that chapter during the podcast. And if you head over to my website, changingearthseries.com, I have a link to the survival resources, and I have a survival guide there, and I have every single episode that I've done with every single lesson. So I'm like 246 episodes in now or something. And so all the information's there. It's like Pinterest when you go there, because it's all graphic presentation of it, and you can just pick out what you want to learn about today. So all that information's over there on my website, but not necessarily directly in my book.
How about you, Theresa?
Sorry, I had to unmute.
Oh.
Yeah, I definitely don't have a resource panel inside the books, but I weave the tips and tricks through the plot of the story. Everything from, you know, thinking outside the box is huge. My latest series, where the mother gets caught on the other side of the Rocky Mountains from her children and she's desperate to get home, she had prepared by storing kick scooters in the back of her minivan, as well as a folding, you know, those wagons that fold down into a box. And you know, she used that to make her way through the mountains as a child's kick scooter, because, you know, you can't always cart around a bike, and not everybody has a vehicle that's old enough that will still function after an EMP or a CME, whatever. So that was one little tip, you know, prepare differently, think outside the box in that aspect.
That's very good point. Nancy, how about you? Would you like to chime in on this?
I think, well, in my books, my tips are woven into the story. So, you know, we do a little bit on wild foraging. We do a little bit on herbal. We do some on canning and processing foods, wild harvest, or not not wild harvesting, but harvesting chickens and stuff. It's all woven into the thread of my stories. So I think I don't have like you do in the back of your books with all the information there.
We have a question from Lynn, who wants to know, instead of being post-apocalyptic, how about more about the process of the collapse? I'm not sure if she's wanting to know about your books or just your thoughts on it, so you could go either way if you want to. And let's just start this off with Theresa. What do you think about that?
So if I understand the question correctly, she's looking for more books written on how the collapse happened rather than how people react to it. Is that sort of what she's
I think
looking
that might be it.
So there's a lot of thriller novels out there that, you know, really takes you up to that point where then the hero saves the day and stuff like that, where I think our novels more focus on how to survive it, right? How to prepare for it. There's definitely a lot of books out there that will that plot reads on how the world could come to an end. So that's not something that I write personally. Mine's more how to get your mind in the right place, how to prepare for possibly having to take care of your family in a society that's broken down, and really, what are you willing to do to make that happen? How far are you willing to go? What lines are you willing to cross? Those are the type of things that my books really focus on, and community, of course.
Yes. Nancy?
Well, I'm just reading it from Lynn. She says in the book, showing people the signs of problems coming for the clueless. My books start basically after the event. So mine doesn't show the signs of problems coming. I do speak a little bit about it in the beginning of how the virus started expanding and taking towns down. But from what I'm reading, I'm thinking she's looking more for books that are like prequels, the story before the story.
Possibly. How about your thoughts, Sara?
So Day After Disaster, my first book, it starts at the disaster, because there were so many books, so many TV shows that led up to like the disaster, and that's like, oh, we narrowly avoided it, yay, everything's all good. So I wanted to start like at the disaster and go from there. And so mine was a series of earthquakes that hits the whole planet, and so obviously earthquakes would cause major disruption, but it's not going to be like it's not going to be you know, like a pandemic wiping out half the population, right? So, but there's a lot of land loss. And how did the government deal with that? What did they do about that? That's where my second book comes in. So it talks a lot about the FEMA camps and what did they do with refugee people? They couldn't just let them wander about all over other people's lands, because then you're going to have warfare and things like that. So that's where my books kind of went along those lines. And then, of course, Erica's the freedom fighter who's not very happy with the systems that got put in place. But L. Douglas Hogan is a fantastic author as well. And he wrote the Tyrant series. And he actually went back and did a book. His books center a lot around the UN coming in and issues that the country has there. But he actually went back and did a book that was like before everything happened and what were the signs of it leading up to it and things like that. So that'd be a resource that I would, you know, his books are pretty good. Pretty darn good. And that would be where I would go for something like that. It was pretty cool. Good series.
Well, that's a really great pay it forward there for you. I personally have a series of books out there that's called, it's a 9 Meals from Anarchy series. And the first one is out there, and I have 2 more that are coming. The next one is Civil Unrest and Quarantine are both coming out almost simultaneously. And they chronicle the first 9 meals of an event. It's before the event comes, and it's leading up to the event, and then what happens in the first 3 days afterwards, because they always say it's, it was like Kiki said in the beginning, that Sir Alfred Henry Lewis said that mankind is only 9 meals from anarchy. And it's amazing how quickly people can descend into anarchy. Right now, we've seen it in the stores and everything. So it's truly amazing, and I'm pretty excited about the next 2 coming out. But since Sara already started the Pay It Forward, I was always going to do that. So how about I get a little Pay It Forward for some other authors that are our favorites? How about you, Nancy? Can you offer us up a book or an author that is a favorite that you would like to pay it forward to, that you feel that people can really gain some
Oh my gosh.
really good insights on preparedness?
Absolutely. Doreen Cooper. I mean,
Nope.
Doreen, no. Yeah, okay. You can tell it's past my bedtime, guys. What the heck? I got to get up at the butt crack of dawn. Doreen Stalter. Her books are very, very good on, on covering the homesteading stuff, the preparedness stuff. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that one, her series. And I'd also recommend yours, Dee, because I really, really feel like you covered a lot of bases with your dystopia series. So yeah, I definitely would recommend those 2.
How about you, Theresa?
I'm definitely gonna throw Jeff Moats out there.
Oh, yes.
Once Upon an Apocalypse. I can say personally that his first book exposed some gaps in what I prep for, that I carry with me. And literally it was like a manual of, this is what you're missing in your bags, fix it. So, and the story was also phenomenal. So Jeff Moats.
Jeff Moats, I can't, I love Jeff. Jeff's books I thought were absolutely amazing. So I second that, Theresa. I thought it was an absolutely wonderful set of books. There's 3 of them, and it was awesome.
I have another one that I'll definitely throw out there is my very good friend Boyd Craven. He writes some fantastic post-apoc stuff, homesteading, a little bit of Shining, and he always has a kick-ass dog in the books. So, Boyd Craven. Well,
that's great. Thank you for tossing all those out there. I too have some favorites. One of the ones that I recently had the opportunity to interview on the Prepper podcast was Misty. It's Zog, Z-A-U-G-G. The one thing that I thought really resonated was her take and her emphasis on like personal self-defense and stuff like that. So I thought, applicably that was one of them. But I know that Sara also, now Sara, would you like to tell us a little bit about something about self-defense? Here I am throwing you right out there.
You're throwing me under the bus. Yeah. So,
at the expo last year.
Yes. So I'm a 3rd degree in Taekwondo. I train sports jiu-jitsu and jiu-jitsu, and I'm really, my message is be physically prepared, because without your body, you have nothing. Like there's no more beyond that. If you don't have your body, you have your health, and you don't have muscle and ability to carry your go bag, you're done in the water. And I also hate the fact that a lot of women and elderly people, the messages that I hear from them are just like, oh, we'll never be able to do it, you know, or I will be just a victim and this and that. And you don't have to be a victim. There are things that you can learn that can drop the biggest person out there. Now numbers, you know, there's nothing you can really do about numbers, right? So, I mean, numbers can overwhelm anybody. But there are so many techniques that you can learn to protect yourself, to stay safe. And to me, that's one of the biggest things that we should be encouraging is just body preparation. What have you done for your body to prepare for the upcoming apocalypse, pandemic? You know, the healthier you are, the better your chances of making it through. So I would really encourage everybody out there. You can't just watch YouTube and learn this stuff. You have to like go and find somebody who can educate you and teach you and show you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. There's so many instructors out there, and you know, you will find the one that is a good fit for you. I'm a pretty aggressive person. I like somebody who's really going to just, you know, snap down on me and tell me how it is. But that's going to be a turnoff for a lot of people. So there's so many instructors out there, so many voices to be heard, that you will find one in your general area. I have faith in pretty much every area. And I would just encourage people on the whole, don't be a victim. There's no reason to be a victim, and the bullets might run out. So after that, all you have is a club in your hand. You know, you have to know some basic self-defense, and stick fighting is what I really encourage, because how hard is it to find a stick? You know, well, you can use a magazine, you can use a spoon, you know, there's options. So that's why I really lean that direction. And women especially, it is really awkward, but you need to develop some kind of a ground defensive game, whether that be wrestling or jujitsu, because 98% of women are attacked from a single assailant, and they want to take it to the ground as fast as possible. So if you're a great stand-up fighter, like I actually am, it doesn't do you very much good if you don't have a ground game. And my instructor made that abundantly clear to me one day, and now I had to learn to do ground game as well, right? But yeah, I would really encourage women especially, go to a jiu-jitsu class, start learning these self-defense techniques, because there's a lot of really, really easy stuff that you can deploy to save yourself and not become a victim.
That I knew, you know, I was saving it up because I knew I was throwing that out there. I was, we had the opportunity to talk last year at the Self-Reliance Expo, and I was so impressed with some of the stuff that she was telling me. Did I run out and go get a class? No, probably not. But I
well,
should.
Maybe you started
really
walking
should.
more, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're closing in on our hour, and so I thought maybe y'all would like to offer just a few words in parting. So how about you, Nancy? Would you like to give them any last thoughts that you might have? I'm gonna cough.
Just everybody have a great night. It was fun doing this. Thanks everybody. Theresa, Sara, thank you.
Theresa?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly follow up on something that Sara said, and that was you can't just watch YouTube videos. You know, YouTube videos are awesome. They're going to help educate you. You're going to be able to follow instructions better, but the proof is in the pudding. So at this time where we're all off work and we're all stuck away from doing all those things that keep us busy, now is the perfect time, especially with the nicer weather coming. Head out in the woods, take your wife, take your kids, take your husband, and maybe try and use some of these skills that you have learned on YouTube in the real life setting, so that, you know what, you actually will be prepared, because it won't be your first time when the shit hits the fan. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
How about Sara? Do you have some parting thoughts for our listeners?
Yeah, both Theresa and Nancy, I have never met either of you, so it was a pleasure to be able to do that. You guys will have to come on the Changing Earth podcast. We'll get you some promotion and have some fun with it. That's one of the most special things about being in the preparedness community is just all of the spectacular people you can meet and the amount of knowledge that you can gain from everybody, you know, because everybody just has these little different tips and you get to just meld them all together. So absolute pleasure to be here. DJ, meeting you at the Self-Reliance experience was great. You know, I'm just hoping I can do it. We just actually moved out of California this year. I got out from behind the Iron Curtain and I'm now living in Northern Texas. So hopefully I'll be able to make it up there, but it was an expensive year, we'll put it that way. And so we'll see how that all looks, but yeah, it was great. And, you know, Kiki's a wonderful person. I met Kurt in person up there at the expo, and I've had a lot of questions since then about, you know, how good was the experience? How good was the Self-Reliance experience?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knows it as the expo, but Kiki has taken this and turned it into so much more than just an expo. Yes, the vendors are there, and yes, there's great stuff to buy there, but there is so much to learn there. She had like 3 stages going all the time. I mean, every minute those stages are filled with people just trying to share their knowledge and educate you. And it was a fantastic experience, and I was so honored to be a part of it. Both she had a show in Mesquite and up in Denver, and I was so honored to be there. So I can't say enough great things about that experience.
Oh, I have to agree. It was absolutely wonderful. And Kiki was wonderful. Kiki is absolutely, you know,
Good
just
people.
the best.
Yeah.
And
it wasn't, you know, wasn't just like survivalism and prepping. She has all the homesteading things like beekeeping and quilt making and the canning. It's the whole picture. It was really good.
it's definitely a complete experience. And I think that's what she's going for. And with that, why don't we just bring her on here and have her tell us a little bit about this experience that nobody is going to want to miss.
Well, thank you. And you guys are too kind. And this platform that we're developing is not developed. You know, what I bring to the table is I'm able to bring amazing people together, like these speakers that we have tonight, like DJ and Sara, who've attended our expos in the past. And my goal is just to grow it. This platform is not developed for me. I am the poster child for my own platform. I'm here to learn. I'm an amateur at this. I could always be, you know, I live a very mainstream life, and I jump in my car and I expect it to turn on, and I expect the gas stations to be open when I need gas, and I expect the lights to turn on when I want to turn them on, and God forbid should I have any technology issues. So you know, I take a lot of things for granted, and I realize that. And so it's these folks who live a much smarter life that I want to learn from. And that's what this platform is all about. It's to bring a variety of experts, people at all levels of preparedness, survival, sustainability, and homesteading together, so we can learn from each other as a community. And, you know, I have some of my speakers that they say nobody's an expert because we're always learning. And that's really what it's about. So I hope that for you attendees, thank you for staying on. Join us for future Self-Reliance University Fireside Chats. I'm working hard to get a homeschooling piece together in the next 10 days or 2 weeks. A survival mindset that is going to be coming on board. We have survival communities, communications. We have Eric Betcher, who's going to be coming back, and hopefully we'll get Bob Hansler as well, and some of our other James and some of our other great survivalists who are going to, you know, as we go outside with the weather turning into our summer months, so we are fully prepared there. So join us, definitely join our Facebook group, Self-Reliance Expo, and check out, like I say, our website, Self-Reliance Expo as well. the Self-Reliance University website is being built right now. We had an old website that we pulled out from the cobwebs, so forgive us on that one. But do join us. We would love your feedback. We would love your input. Again, we want to learn from each other. This is not my platform. This is all of our platform. Kurt, thank you so much. Garden for Life has been a huge supporter of what we're doing. And so thank you to them. Thank you for Country Financial, US Health Group, and Morgan, who you will also meet as one of our moderators with Paratus Business News. There's some great stuff coming up, and ladies, thank you. You guys were amazing, and we hope to have you back, and we hope to see you here in Colorado once the quarantine is lifted, once we can leave home.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Kiki.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Kurt.
Thank you, Kiki.
Bye-bye. Thank you, DJ.